Don't they know? Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth. Sorry, just entertaining ourselves here. Seemed like an appropriate song as we look back on the year, Skeeter Davis's End of the World. I'm Aaron Rand from CJD, along with Bill Brownstein of the Montreal Gazette. Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth podcast.
And we're in tears. We're in tears.
From the Snowdon Deli restaurant, where we today, Bill, you and I, will look back on the year 2024.
Yeah.
And that seemed an appropriate way to start, didn't it?
Absolutely.
The end of the world.
Although the Christmas Carnatzel here is...
By the way, a lovely, we thought for this, our festive edition, the last one before the end of the year, we dress up the Carnatzel plate festively with green and red jujubes, which are, of course, I think traditional when it comes to Christmas decorations. So, looks great, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oddly, they didn't have mistletoe here at the Snowdon Deli. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things. Let's start with Montreal and talk about some of what happened here over the course of the year.
What happened?
Well, I have an idea, right? So I'm calling 2024 in Montreal the year of the protest. Does that seem fair?
Absolutely.
Okay. Started in April with actually before that, but in April, the encampment at McGill that lasted till the beginning of July. And I thought maybe Montreal, for a new slogan, could be Montreal, come for the festival, stay for the protests. What do you think?
That'll really resonate. Absolutely. The fact of the matter, Aaron, if I might say so, is that the city is in a strange place. The mayor has announced that she's not running again in 2025, and that basically it's all up for grabs. Projet Montreal's got about 5 candidates in the mix.
But wait, before we get done today, there may be more.
There may be more.
So it's like one a
day. Every day. And of course, there is no opposition. Ensemble Montreal, I mean, they don't have anybody seemingly running. And this is not a very good thing in general for a democracy, but particularly for the city, which could use a lot of help from someone who might have a better understanding of the whole infrastructure business-wise, so to speak. And I think it's a little alarming that, I mean, we're here in a position, yes, we've got a lot of great things happening in terms of, pedestrianization and bike paths and all the rest.
Sorry, did you say those are great things?
Well, in the minds of some, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, we keep on putting up new obstacles for business in the city, and I don't understand where they think tax revenues come from, if not from our business section. We've gone over this over and over again. People escape to the suburbs, to the West Island, to Laval, everywhere to do their shopping. We need to help the city, and we need to... I was kind of thinking that Michel Leblanc, who's now announcing he's leaving the Board of Trade, Chamber of Commerce here, that he was leaving, and he's not interested in running because a lot of people suspected he would be a good candidate.
So I had him on my show, and I asked that question. First of all, are you thinking of running? Do you want to run? To which he said no, and I said, is that no now or no never? Ooh. And he kind of laughed, but he kind of implied no. But I think, I read an interview, I think may have been in the Gazette the other day, I think he may have bigger political ambitions, i.e.
Prime Minister?
Provincial, well, that's everybody, but provincially possibly, right?
Yeah.
Getting involved in politics.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
It kind of, to your point, though, it almost makes you miss the days of Balarama Holness, doesn't it?
It does.
At least he wanted to run.
Yes, that's true. Where is he? Maybe
I think he's in Toronto.
Is he in Toronto?
I think so.
Let's call him.
Well, we can't now.
Yeah. No, we could use a little. I mean, there's nothing happening here. It's frightening. People don't understand, and who turns out to vote for municipal elections? Basically, a lot of people in the plateau, and everybody. You vote?
Yeah, I do, but that's the other problem, right? Historically low levels. We all complain about municipal politics.
That's right.
The mayor, but
nobody goes out to
shove,
vote. Exactly. And the whole, I mean, the fabric of the city is at risk. I'm pretty darn certain about this. I mean, who knows how many more blocks they're going to put up on St. Catherine Street, elsewhere, on Saint Denis, on Saint Hubert. I mean, it's just things have to be done. Otherwise, we're going to have a very bizarre situation where some people are very happy and a lot of people are just not going to be happy at all.
With respect, so you mentioned Saint Denis, and it's interesting because that street obviously has completely changed with the Rev, right? Putting in the bike path. And the city sort of makes a point to say, look, statistics show that merchants are seeing more business, or that they're happy with things. And I took a look, and last time I checked on Saint Denis, there are a whole lot of businesses either closing or for rent. It seems what's happening is the bigger businesses, like the box store types, are opening because they can afford the rent. But all these individual stores, smaller businesses, are being squeezed out because there's not a whole lot of place to park a car down there. Not everyone is shopping by bike. And the city, by the way, is not slowing down.
No.
The city is building more bike paths, more bike paths. I think we're in the hole now for about $500 million as far as bike paths, and there's a $30 million project planned just before the end of this year or into next year that still needs to get done. So I don't know. I think for a lot of people, I've talked about this as well. If you're a motorist here, well, don't get me started, but you'd have to think at some point, and I realize it's a Provincial Montreal ideology, right? Pedestrianization, bike paths, is there an end?
No. Mr. Amazon is very happy, though. I mean, we talk about commerce like on that level, like, you could go bring your wagon downtown and try to cart off a 90-inch television set or something, but otherwise you're hard-pressed. Groceries or everything else, it's very unrealistic for a lot of families to go about, like, you have to make a compromise on a certain level, and you might have a vision of the city, which is a wonderful place where everybody's walking and bicycling, and I'm a walker and I love doing so, but the fact of the matter is you have to make room for other forms of transport. You have to make room for other forms of people just going out and enjoying the city. Like, you're not going to get people coming in from the West Island or Laval to go to restaurants here. Why? I mean, you have to pay parking up to 11 o'clock if you can find it, and if you can navigate around the orange cones, we go on and on about that. But the fact of the matter, nothing changes, and nothing will change if this continues and there is no opposition and nobody puts up a fight and nobody... Who's out there?
Yeah,
how about you?
Yeah, I'm busy that day. But I believe Projet Montreal said, I heard one of the people in Projet say, in Ensemble Montreal, say that they are talking to different people. So some people have expressed an interest in running against Projet Montreal, but they haven't come out publicly and said who that is. So I'm guessing that happens beginning of the year, maybe Jan, Feb. We'll find out. Are there any high-profile names in that list? We don't know.
UP?
Busy, again. So let's move from municipal politics to provincial politics. Possibly the worst year since the CAC got elected.
Yeah.
2024, their numbers, polling numbers, lower and lower and lower and lower. And for at least 1 month, I think a couple, Francois Legault held the distinction of being the least liked or least popular premier in the entire country. He's now lost that title to Doug Ford, but only last month. So what do you think?
It goes back and forth. But the fact of the matter is that... he's not leaving. He vows to keep running and all the rest. The problem here is, Monsieur Saint-Pierre Plamondon, he has got a big lead, but I think a lot of people are parking their voter attentions there for now, mostly as a form of protest against Monsieur Legault. But the fact of the matter is the Liberals could have been really making ground here. You'll notice in the last polls that they had decent numbers, and Pablo Rodriguez, before he announced was going to run, he had some fairly significant numbers, and yet they have decided still to hold off on a leadership race until like later in 2025 in spring, I believe. But the fact is that it seems so ass backwards, everything in this place.
So Pablo Rodriguez comes in, suddenly a well-known name in federal politics, deciding to run provincially. What's being held against him, though, is by some people saying, hey, you're a federal liberal, right? You bring that into... And he said, no, that's not going to be how it's going to work. And others I've heard, people say, he's not a shoo-in.
He's not?
So maybe we're sort of overestimating his popularity only because he's a familiar face and was in Ottawa for so long. Charles Milliard, one of the other candidates, we had Fred Beauchemin here as well. Maybe that's not a given.
And what about Denny Coderre?
I don't know. Denny, I'm thinking the best surprise of all, and by best I don't mean in a good way necessarily, would be for Denny Coderre to realize he has no chance to win provincially, and then do what? Come back and run for mayor of Montreal again. Because this time he doesn't have to run against Valerie Plante.
True. That's kind of a bizarro dream, yeah.
By the way, to the reference on the PQ, so yes, the PQ is enjoying heightened popularity now, polling-wise, but I think the number that always sticks out is the number of people who would vote for separation is the same now and has been roughly for the last 20
Between
years.
33 to 35%.
That's not changing.
Not changing.
So you wonder, though, given that, What's Paul St. Pierre Plamondon going to do? Keep talking about separation or stop talking about it because he realizes by talking about it, he's not going to gain any more support?
No, but come election time, if he throws out a referendum, they might rethink like they all have done before.
We'll wait.
And in fairness, we've had him on, Monsieur St. Pierre Plamondon, and he's a very engaging guy, unlike some people in the CAC government. He loves to talk. He's very, very open to the Anglo minority because, of course, he went to school here in English, and he's just an engaging kind of guy. And I think if he didn't have the referendum thing hanging over, he'd probably do even a lot better. But a lot of people here are not that interested.
The Corner Booth podcast is brought to you in part by the Snowdon Delicatessen, where we are. 75 years in business, the hub of Montreal's greatest smoked meat, plus Carnotzel, potato latkes, and the famous Snowdon Deli party sandwiches. That's the Snowdon Delicatessen. So we go from provincial to federal politics. What a week this has been. We're in the midst of it here, right? Because
it's the end of the world.
Yeah, the end of the world.
Don't
Nothing from Justin Trudeau yet, although by the time this airs, we may find out what he plans to do. Can you remember a time like this in federal politics?
Never. I mean, not since Sir John A. I mean, when we
remember that, of course, you were around for that. So, no, I've never. I mean, his father was so different. I mean, Pierre. He took his walk in the snow and all the rest. But the fact is, he was strong and defiant. I mean, now he's getting it all. I mean, Justin, there's no winning here. I mean, he's getting blasted in the States. He's getting blasted here. Every party, and he still won't go. It seems a lot of people want him to leave, and then he tries to make nice with Trump, and then what is happening here? Mr. Trump refers to us as the 51st state. Him as a guy, he's being insulted. Can you imagine Pierre Trudeau hearing something like that? He'd challenge him to a duel or something. So to that point, we had Jean Charest speak up this week and say exactly that. Can you imagine if someone else, and you mentioned, for example, Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, whoever would have Brian Mulroney.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump had said something like that while they were Prime Minister, what the reaction would have been. And here, because of what's going on after Chrystia Freeland stepped down, it's radio silence. We heard nothing. We started on Monday when she resigned. It's Friday now. He has not said a single word to this. And obviously, it seems most people believe that's detrimental to Canada. It's detrimental to Canadians.
Well, we're being made fools of. I mean, like I say, I can't imagine, Pierre Trudeau or Jean Chrétien putting up with anything like this. That was not. They were fighters. They would have taken a look at this guy. And the problem is that Trump didn't like Justin from the from the get-go. And now all of a sudden,
and Chrystia Freeland even less.
And yes. Yeah, and she was. By the way, the story was that she turned down for a cabinet position after she got dumped on finance for U.S. relations. That would have been U.S.-Canada relations. Yeah, that was going to be her gig. Can you imagine how well that would have worked? I mean, Trump already called her toxic and said all sorts of nasty things.
So I have a question with relation to the meeting at Mar-a-Lago when Justin Trudeau went down. And I remember talking about this on my show, saying, you know what, I give him credit, first G7 leader to actually meet the president-elect. 2 weeks later, I've changed my opinion. I think that clearly played into Donald Trump's hands, and now we've ended up with this, Canada, $100 billion, we're getting screwed by Canada.
$100 billion.
And on and on and on. And then I thought to myself, and the comment the other day, which was most Canadians like the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state.
Right.
The only poll we have on that, only poll that's been done on that question, shows 13% of Canadians would like that idea. That's 87% who don't, and many of those, the most, are in Alberta. And that's not news because there's been a 51st state movement there forever. So Donald Trump's getting away with a lot of stuff here as far as Canada is concerned.
And the fact of the matter is, it seems like the guy running this shot, is Elon Musk. Now being referred to as Mr. President by some, and by others, Elania, in reference to Melania, because he's there more than Melania is. Who's running that country? What's going on? The whole world is teetering on the edge here. I mean, this is dangerous stuff, I think.
So, with respect to, we know the situation in the Liberal Party, we're talking about Justin Trudeau. The other person who a lot of people are looking at and trying to understand why he's basically not doing anything is Jagmeet Singh. leader of the NDP.
Oh no, he's doing everything. He's just trying to keep. The theory is that he has a pension that kicks in at a certain point.
And he doesn't want to jeopardize.
And doesn't want to jeopardize. Right? Like teetering here on the edge, one way or another, supporting of course.
But imagine Canadians looking at the leader of one of the leaders of an opposition party who comes out and says, "I think Justin Trudeau should resign." Thank you, Mr. Singh. And will you vote to make that happen?
No.
No, all options are on the table. That was his answer, which makes you wonder. And I saw a poll actually I think a day or so ago, that shows there are most Canadians, I'm not sure if that's accurate, but Canadians who say there's no one there that they'd be satisfied or happy to vote for. None of the parties.
Taylor Swift.
Well, but she's not running.
Yeah, true. No, you're absolutely right. Who would you vote for? Like, who's out there? I know people, lifelong liberals, lifelong conservatives, lifelong NDPers.
Well, it's like you can like the Conservatives, but you don't necessarily like Pierre Poilievre, right? And that's part of the problem.
I mean, I find that voice alone just drives me. But I mean, that's not that's very superficial, of course.
But it's true. There are enough Canadians who've said that.
Yeah.
They would vote Conservative, but they're not necessarily happy with Pierre Poilievre as leader of that party.
He looks like another Trumper. It's scary times. It really is. Who are you going to vote for? Do a write-in for you.
Thanks, but again, busy.
You're busy that day.
Okay, let's move from that to world politics. Obviously, the situation in the Middle East that's been going on now for a while.
You can play that song again.
Sorry?
You can play the song again. Don't they know it's the end of the world?
I don't think we have to. I think it was pretty much understood.
Yeah.
Situation in the Middle East, but specifically as it applies, of course, here in Montreal, where we've seen protest after protest. Fadi Daguerre, the police chief, who again I had on my show and asked the question, because people ask it all the time, why haven't more people here who have clearly broken the law, right, been arrested? And his answer was, they have been. And I said, well, no. Where? Who?
Where? Yeah, exactly.
And we don't know that.
Yeah.
They've never said that, which is why people keep asking, why don't you arrest people instead of just telling? I think you saw the letter from Christina Smith, the mayor of Westmount, Mitch Brownstein, the mayor of Côte St. Luc,
no relation,
Anthony Housefather, saying, you know what, de-escalation is not enough. We saw a synagogue firebomb just a couple of days ago. It's time to act.
2 years, no, it's unbelievable. But they also accuse Trudeau. I mean, oddly enough, the one who gets the most praise is Legault and Derry because of like their stance. They're stronger on that, and they seem to take more offense to all of this. But of course, they do other things like have these bans on praying in public, which goes. Everything's upside down. But the fact is, there's nothing done, and people are shocked. There was I don't know if you saw a story in the New York Post saying that Montreal's the most anti-Semitic city in North America, which is shocking. I find that hard to believe. But when you look at the statistics, I mean, you look at the stories, the firebombing, the rabbi being told, like, get off the street, you're going to incite some you're provoking. I mean, this is nuts.
And the only thing we get from the mayor anyway is basically lip service after every one of these incidents.
I'll speak to be, right.
And it's clearly not working.
Well, but she doesn't want to alienate any of, like, let's face it, like, where is her support coming from? It's young, it's progressive. I mean, a lot of pro-Palestinian thinkers, which is not the issue here. I mean, one thing is anti-Semitism, another thing, I mean, people find it very hard to understand why they can't separate, like, just a religion from a Middle East stance, and this is the issue here. Why is a synagogue being attacked? I mean, this is not their stance on the Middle East about Palestine and Israel. It would be the same way, like, people attacking, mosques here because of, like, which doesn't seem to happen as much.
Yeah, convenient but misguided targets.
Exactly.
Okay. One other thing I want to bring up, you brought up Pascal Derry a minute ago. So she's the minister of higher education.
Yes. Wonderful job.
And it's been an attack on English universities here this year as well.
Right.
McGill, Concordia, Bishops to a degree, all of them have seen enrollment fall. They're all being hurt. McGill's actually trying to fund a campaign now to be able to get scholarships to attract more students. And then we had the French language minister here, right? The official French language minister. And the headline on his appearance here on the podcast was, "We're not trying to do away with English."
Right. And another engaging guy, too, and I believe that he is sincere in thinking all of that, but when you cut back on like, why do you punish, like, one of the most successful, be it Anglo or Franco, McGill, is one of the most respected universities in the world. Why do you want to punish that? Like, when this is coming out of the same province, it's a badge of honor for all of us. Look, I mean, Monsieur Saint-Pierre Plamondon is a graduate of McGill. I mean, he went on to places. Why should that be punished? We've turned out respected everything, like engineers, doctors, scientists, and yet they want to cut back.
It's hard to imagine, though, that they don't want to punish English or Anglos by doing these kinds of things. I still remember that famous line with Jean-Francois Roberge will never live down, which is, I hear too much English being spoken downtown.
And that was seemingly the whole, at the crux of all of this. Too much English. That's because it's festival season. That's because it's Grand Prix. That's why you're hearing a lot of because tourists bring in money to the city, $100 million or so. That's why you're hearing English downtown. Go now. We'll see.
We don't know that that's going to change. No. As far as universities go, the government's not wanting to walk this back at all. They seem to have no intention of doing that. Let me go from that and talk about the healthcare system. So now we have now we have Santé Quebec, and here it is today. So we know that the new head of Santé Quebec, Geneviève Biron, is told the day she takes the job, you need to find $1.5 billion to cut from the system. And then we found out actually just today that already Santé Quebec has spent $1.7 million in consultants to tell them where to cut in the health. I mean, some things just write themselves. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And given the way the healthcare system is now, story last week, man goes to an emergency room, he's got a bit of an issue. He's sent home after 6 hours of waiting and dies the next day. Yeah. Things are not getting better. Things seem to be getting worse.
Yeah. There are no words to describe. And the fact of the matter is, and they still, our nurses are the most underpaid, I think, in the country. I mean, I don't know what kind of contract, if in fact anything has been resolved on a bigger level regarding that. I mean, they want doctors to go practice outside of, into the regions. And we're not doing anything we're exacerbating the situation constantly, and yet they want to cut back. I mean, you're hearing about all these programs being cut, like addiction centers, like home care being. This is it's a disaster.
Yeah,
and this is before.
Yeah, let's not forget, was the story this week, some food depots, which are being being told to basically find someplace else. We need the space for French language classes.
Exactly.
What? I don't know.
What kind of planet are we living in? Play that song again?
I don't think we should. It'll get more depressing by the minute. We haven't really talked about anything worldwide, but I guess if you're going to look at the world for 2024, there is only one thing to talk about, and that is
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what happened in the world in 2024.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Although she didn't come to Montreal.
No. Well, and the Olympic Stadium. We're getting very
forgot about
very
that.
close to
forgot
having
about
it fixed.
that.
No, it's very close.
Forgot about
They've
that.
removed the old
Every
roof.
time,
they removed the old roof.
Oh my God!
And it's only going to end up costing us, we think now,
$780 million.
$2 billion.
Oh, $2 billion. Yeah, right.
So
that's okay.
It's almost done.
Yeah. And it'd be good for a tractor pull in the future.
All right.
Because we're not getting a baseball team, according to a lot of people.
We were going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, but what's there to talk about, I guess, so... Right.
Well, they got a Finnish guy who seems good.
Yeah.
Patrick Laine. But
that's the highlight of the year. We got a Finnish guy.
Yeah, we got a Finnish guy.
Anything else?
Well, mostly I want to wish everybody a very merry one, because we've had a lot of fun doing this. Aaron, can't thank you enough, and Snowdon Deli, and Brian Colasar, our sound guy, and the incredible Dave Sidaway, our photographer, videographer. We're having a lot of fun, and a lot of people want to come on and listen to us, so we will continue making your lives, I don't know,
more interesting.
More interesting.
I don't know.
Whimsical.
Listen, we are going to have some people in the coming weeks, in the new year, joining us, important political people.
Yeah, Mr. Saint-Pierre Plamondon wants to come back. Now we got Mr. Pablo Rodriguez wants to come on. So
we will continue on the corner booth, and as Bill said, we want to thank you for watching. It's been a lot of fun doing this. We'll take a couple of weeks away. Hope you have a very happy holiday season as well, and we will see you in 2025 on the next edition of the Corner Booth Podcast.